So today I wanted to talk about Rupert Hine, who may be familiar to keen-eyed music nerds from a few different places beyond his solo albums. He probably had his greatest success as a producer, working with artists like Tina Turner and The Fix, or maybe of more interest to most viewers of this channel, Rush and Anthony Phillips. He did quite a lot of soundtrack work and contributed several songs, I know, to the soundtrack for the film Better Off Dead. But he achieved that success as a producer in parallel with a long and eclectic career making innovative, artistically ambitious music, nearly all of which is really quite obscure today. In the early 70s, he made two albums that might loosely be called progressive folk, in the same vein roughly as pre-metal Pink Floyd. Those albums are available on streaming, but hard copies are rare and expensive. He did two albums with the band Quantum Jump, creating, depending how you look at it, either a very funky form of prog rock or a very technical and musically accomplished variation on disco. Neither of those albums are available on streaming currently. There were hard copies reissued by Esoteric Records a few years ago, but they're a little bit hard to find. All that music is worth unearthing, but what's of most interest to me today is what's generally referred to as the Immunity trilogy, three albums released in the early 1980s, which were recently collected in the box set Surface Tension by Esoteric Records. The Immunity trilogy, I would say, sits about halfway between maybe the self-titled Genesis album and the music Peter Hammill was making around the time of Sitting Targets, right? Carrying forward the spirit of progression from an earlier era by using synthesizers and concise song structures to build music that was very experimental in its time and that's no less accessible for being dark and textured and creative. If you're interested in this era, then the whole Surface Tension set is worth checking out, but my favorite album from this period, and the one I want to talk about today, is the 1982 release Waving Not Drowning, which I think best captures the sonic experimentation, the lyrical intelligence, and the well-crafted writing that make this era of his work special. Now, it's important to know that a lot of what gives this era of Hine's albums their unique character come from his writing partner, the lyricist Jeanette Obstage. I may be mangling that name. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Her lyrics are thoughtful, they're philosophical, they're packed with creative and surreal imagery, and they're perfectly suited to Hine's dry, acerbic vocal style and to the elegant melodies he writes. And they bring a distinctive strangeness even to relatively straightforward ideas. My personal favorite is the chorus to the song The Curious Kind.
Split the difference and the ripples magnify. Learning, looking under stars to find the one disturbed. He turns and turns.
As I read it, this is basically a song about being an inquisitive person, right? But it dwells on that image of the worm under the stone, turning and turning, which becomes more odd and unsettling the more you hear it. In the booklet for the Surface Tension box, Hine talks about how the sound of this series of albums changed as artists went from programming their own synthesizer sounds to increasingly using presets built into synthesizers, which had the effect of making the performance and production easier, but does reduce some of the kind of Wild West soundscaping of Immunity. Still, you can hear the kind of creativity that comes from an artist working at the cutting edge of technology. The moody, beautiful ballad Dark Windows includes field-recorded samples of thunder, timed to key moments in the song, which really further enhance the already eerie mood set by the melody and lyrics.
His last escape.
And whether Hine is using presets or crafting his own sounds, the synthesized textures are really frequently brilliant even today. One of my favorites is the kind of dreamy swirl in the middle of the song, The Sniper.
And there's no temptation in his gaze. His blood runs hot and cold some days.
Or the way that intricate vibe arpeggios wind around stomping martial rhythms in the song Innocence in Paradise.
And that's a dark street you're running down. It's a street where no one walks alone. It's a cul-de-sac and it will probably burn. It's so dry and great if you could make it.
I'm also partial to the very elaborate piano hook that opens the song House Arrest.
I don't think I'll be free.
I don't know if that's played live throughout the track or if it's a loop of something that was played only once, might even be a sample, but either way, the effect is hypnotically catchy. But my favorite musical moment comes during the song One Man's Poison. You know, the first half of the song deals at length with the theme of perspective and how a thing can change its nature depending on our point of view. That's not the most distinctive idea necessarily, but here it's handled in as clever and vivid a way as I've ever heard.
One man gets richer from another fool's addiction. One thinks it's fact, while the other knows it's fiction. One blaze at final glory, there's another die unknown. The one who plants the seed.
But musically, it's within the same vein of intelligent synth-pop as the rest of the album until the end of the song, when the listener is hit with a sudden burst of live drums from Steve Nagus of Saga, combined with a soaring guitar solo. It would be effective in any context, but moving into conventional rock instrumentation after an album of synthesizers and drum machines creates a really powerful dynamic effect that I can't really think of anything else to compare it to, and it's one of the defining moments of Hine's catalog. I'd even say it's the moment which, for me, elevates this as a work above any other Hine album. It's a uniquely powerful end to one of the most underappreciated albums of the 1980s, and something which I think dramatizes the cusp between classic progressive rock and the more synthesizer-driven sounds of the 80s. Thanks for listening. I'll see everybody in a week.